Welcome to the Women Arise podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Neely Hicks, and with me today are three phenomenal women from Dallas, Texas, who attended last year's Triumph Over Trauma Facilitator Training, which was sponsored by the North Texas Behavioral Health Authority. I'm going to start off with letting them introduce themselves because I think you're going to enjoy listening to each one of them and it'll help you better identify their voices. So, Miss PJ, why don't you go first?
All right. Thank you so much, Neely. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Patricia Jones. I go by PJ. I am a proud member of the St. Luke Community United Methodist Church Mental Health Ministry. And that's how I found out about this wonderful Triumph Over Trauma journey. And so I'm a proud mom, I'm a veteran, and I am what I consider to be a mental health advocate. I have an undergrad in psychology, a master's in pastoral counseling, and I'm currently working on my doctor of ministry. And I'm just really a person who cares about other people. And Triumph Over Trauma helps me to do that.
Thank you so much,
Love that.
PJ. Shawana.
Thank you, Neely, for the opportunity. I am Shawana Carter. I am a nonprofit founder, 13 years running a nonprofit called Carter's House, where we encounter and deal with parents on a daily basis. I have no desire to do social work. However, I know that parents have always needed a safe place to just be. Me coming to Triumph Over Trauma kind of came by accident. I'm actually an undergrad pursuing a degree in child development and family studies with a goal to be a licensed mental health professional. So this was right up my alley, and I'm excited to work with these two ladies and you to continue to provide a safe space for community members to come and express and learn new tools in their toolkit to keep them going when trauma rears its head.
Yes, thank you, Shawana. Sharon.
Thank you, Neely, and you are the bomb diggity. That's right. We all appreciate you for the opportunity of presenting this whole program. So, like PJ, I belong to St. Luke Community United Methodist Church's mental health ministry. And that is how I actually found out about this TOT, as we call it, Triumph Over Trauma. And as Shawana and PJ and I happen to call ourselves TOT accomplices because
Oh, good, good, good. I like that term. I like that term, that name. Yeah, so can you tell me some of what the issues that your communities are facing?
Well, I'll start there, Neely. And so I think that a lot of community members that PJ, Sharon, and I see are dealing with the lack of a safe space, the ability to find people that they can talk to and not only just talk to, but trust. And I think a big piece of that for me is that people they feel like they have to relive the trauma by going in detail about what happened. And while there's healing in that, there's also healing in not having to say it, right? Not being required, but to learn the tools. And so I think a lot of for my parents specifically, I think my parents have held it in so long that it just bubbles out, right? And so I think that a lot of them are dealing with, when I think about the issues they've seen or they dealt with, there's sexual trauma, there's child abuse, there's neglect, there's being in households where there was drug abuse, there's just being alone and raising children by yourself. And all of those things can be traumatic and have to be dealt with.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And that's one of the things that we teach in Triumph Over Trauma is that even when we don't want to remember, our bodies do. And,
Absolutely.
things can just bubble up at unexpected moments. And yeah, so I really appreciate that and all that you're doing to support parents through the Carter's House.
Thank you.
So I'll say As part of our mental health ministry, we have a monthly educational support group that
That
happens.
happens.
And so
As
every month we bring in a speaker and they talk to us about some wonderful aspect about behavioral health or mental health or things like that that impact us. And so they teach us something, they help us learn about more resources. And then after that educational portion, we break into what we call a support group, and anybody can bring anything up during that support group. And I have to tell you, every month we almost have to force the call to stop because there's an outpouring of issues and concerns and challenges. And to me, Triumph Over Trauma gives people a more available way to have those conversations extended, right? And so we do once a month. We do 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And so the first 45 minutes to an hour is the educational part because we do free CEUs. We have mental health professionals that are on there and other professionals that need CEUs, and then people from the community, right, that just want to learn. And then once we stop that, because we record that portion and then we stop it, and then we open it up. Right. And we have licensed professionals on the call. We have other people who are passionate, like myself, who just want to support one another. And it's amazing how many things come out of those conversations. And so it says to me that there's a need, there's hurt in our community. There's unresolved issues in our community. There's trauma that hasn't even been identified as trauma because people don't really understand what trauma is. And so, Triumph Over Trauma helps us to define it, to be able to put a name on it so they can name it. Because I personally believe you can't fight an invisible enemy. So, you got to be able to name it and identify it first before you can address it. And so, yeah, I'll stop there, but that's what I'm seeing in our community.
So, how long has St. Luke's had a mental health ministry?
It's been 10 years. We had our 10th symposium last year in 2025. So the ministry has been. It started out as a small group, a Luke group, and then it grew into a ministry. But yeah, it's been 10 years.
That's excellent. Sharon, what do you have to add?
Well, the ministry started at it was actually I think at one of the members' homes, so they
Hmm.
met there, and then as it grew, they moved it back to the church and whatnot. And so both ladies really spoke to the needs and why Triumph Over Trauma fits our community so well, right? Because it gives people the opportunity to speak to their pain, their trauma, and we give them tools along the way to help work on those things as well. So that is why it's so good for our community because it really does meet the needs of the individuals. And like PJ said, um, we have not always had as much time, and not to say that we have a lot of time with our individual meetings now with TOT, but it does give folks an opportunity to expand. And I think that weekly meeting is also a very good piece. You know, with our ministry, we're meeting once a month, and then this helps to pull all that stuff together a little bit better.
Good, good. Yeah, I think one of the things that we've talked about is how people came together in your very first group. And I want to, before we go there, I want to just talk about what it was like for y'all when you came into that room because I thought that all of you knew each other already. At the same
Mm-mm.
table,
Sharon and PJ knew each other. Shawana did not know Sharon and PJ.
and
I
so,
didn't know Sharon.
No,
oh, y'all are I
not
Thought
at
you
thought
all.
did.
friends.
It was all organic.
It was
It
there we
was.
go. So we were all in the training in October, and 3 people from our mental health ministry was in the training. The only person I knew was Miss May. Lady May I knew her, but Sharon is also a part of ministry. But we have like 60 people, and I'm relatively new. I'm only 3 years into the mental health ministry, and I have yet to meet all of the people. And so I've seen her name, but I had never met her. So I couldn't put the name with the face because I didn't know what she looked like. So Triumph Over Trauma actually gave me an opportunity, which is crazy, to meet someone that I actually serve with, because we all serve in different capacities. But we didn't know each other. And really, it's the mentoring sessions that brought it all together, if I'm being honest. So the three people that came from our mental health ministry at our church, we kind of had a connection on site, on location, and said, hey, this is powerful. We need to do something with this thing, right? But then in the mentoring meeting, the follow up mentoring with you, Neely, is when we met Shawana, and me and Sharon had already said, hey, we're going to do a group. And so then Shawana was like, hey, y'all doing a group? Let's get together because I want to do a group too. And so then we just kind of, and then it organically, it was divine. I'm going to say it was divine, but it just
It
came together
was.
so beautifully because Shawana came to basically shadow me and Sharon, as we had no idea what we were doing on that first session. But we were trusting the process because the training, the curriculum, the facilitator's guide
It was
is
perfect.
so well prepared. I mean, we adjusted it to make it our own, to fit our personalities, our facilitation styles, and the audience in which we thought would be there. But it was in that session. Shawana came to kind of shadow in the first session because I had asked her to be a substitute for me because I was traveling. And then she just stayed with us. So then the three of us stayed together to facilitate that first group. And it was beautiful. It was just absolutely beautiful. I'll
Yeah.
be quiet. I'm going to let them talk.
No, you good. I think when Miss Sharon, when we did intros at
Hmm.
training, and I
Hmm.
remember you guys saying you were from St. Luke, and I heard Miss Sharon say her name. Well, one of my mentors in the community, Miss Miriam Williams,
Hmm.
had mentioned Sharon's name before. So when I saw that, when I heard the name, I was like, oh, she knows Auntie. Let me make sure I speak. And so I knew of Miss Sharon, but I didn't know PJ at all.
Hmm.
And PJ is correct. I just was like, okay, I'll sit in for this one session. Who? Let me tell y'all something. PJ sent me a random email like, hey, after our first mentoring session, like, hey, I gotta travel. You want to fill in? I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But then as groups started, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sit in with them. And at the end of that first session, I was like, say y'all, I can take up more time in this group if y'all need, we want to split it up in threes. And it ended up being the most beautiful experience I've had in a very long time in a group setting, for us to learn and then share the information, learn the processes of how to facilitate the group, but then also sharing the information. And I echo PJ, the facilitator's guide is so well put together that there wasn't a ton, but we did have the ability to make it fit what we needed for our group.
Hmm.
And so that definitely made this an easy process to share this information out with the community.
Hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, that is one of the that's one of the things that's so attractive about the program as Neely put it together, because she always says, well, do what you need to do, change what you need to change, modify. It's not like everything is cemented where you don't have that ability. And so that makes it feel so much more comfortable. It makes you feel like you're owning it. And so
Yeah.
once we own it, then we can navigate it accordingly, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, the TAMAR curriculum, which TAMAR stands for Trauma, Addiction, Mental Health, and Recovery. And so it was developed in the late 1990s by a group of professional psychologists and who really saw the gap in mental health care for women who are in the prison system. And so their brilliance in creating this program made me feel confident that whatever we do, we know that we're working with a program that is tried and true and tested. And so we added the context supplements for different faith communities and other assets as well. But the program was developed for each facilitator to use their creativity and to be able to modify based on the people that they're working with. I
Well,
know.
trust and believe we do that.
Mhm.
Good,
Yeah.
good. That's great. That's great.
Neil.
Yeah, I know when you were still in that room, I think PJ spoke up and said the furloughed workers,
Mhm.
um, and other federal workers, I want to do this for them.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first group of people that you really focused on, right?
So we used our personal networks to share the information. We shared it with the mental health ministry, and they shared it in announcements. I reached out to coworkers because, yes, at the time, it was during the government shutdown, and I know some of my um, colleagues had been impacted by the admin leave earlier in the year, and the firings, and then rehirings, and it was all just a lot going on, right? And we don't know how that impacted people. So the first reaction was, "Oh, we could use this with the mental health ministry." And then my immediate second reaction was, "Wow, maybe some of my friends could use this," because I understood how I received the information and how helpful it was for me to process all of the things that was happening. And so, surprisingly enough, one of my coworkers, nope, two, three, I think, of my coworkers from the federal workforce joined that first group, and one of them even invited their daughter to join that group. And so, yeah, so absolutely, it was
Yeah,
helpful.
I think some people might not think of job loss
Mhm,
as trauma, and yet it can be traumatic based on what the person is going on right here and now in
mhm,
their personal lives, but then also we never know about past experiences in an individual's life and how the compounding of undealt with trauma can then make a situation that's bad even worse.
mhm,
Neely, when you talked about the programs springing forth from women who were in prison, I remember visiting the Neil unit in Texas, West Texas. It's closed down now, but it was a women's unit, a prison unit, and the issues that those women had, I mean, they just spanned across everything, and so I can see how impactful this was in launching them into a different modality. Yeah.
Can I
Exactly.
say, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, Shawana and I are currently doing an in person group. And just this week, we had a new person come who spent 30 years in prison. And he is finding the group, it seems to be helpful. So
Mhm.
this was his first week coming, but hopefully we'll see him again. But understanding how people can take this information and immediately apply it to their lives. And there's no restriction on the age or generation that it can help, because my mom is also in this current group that we're doing in person. So our participants are ranging in age from 21 to 76,
Yeah.
right? That's a huge range in generations and age. So I don't think people understand that it can help at whatever age or stage of life you're in.
Yeah, I've also found myself
Yeah.
sending out pieces of what we cover in our groups.
Mhm,
My son is 32. He's not ready to sit in a group, but I
mhm,
will send him bits and pieces out of our facilitator manual, our breathing exercises, to get him to use those
Mhm.
as he needs them. And I've checked in and asked, have you been using your breathing exercises? He was like, yeah, Mom, I do it in the morning on my way into work because he has horrific road rage. But, he does that throughout the day. I have an elderly lady who works in my office, kind of like my play aunt. And I've sent her some of the breathing exercises, and, the mindfulness tips. Those things are amazing for people. And even if they're not prepared to sit in the room, that gets them started. And then by the time we get ready to launch another group, they're a little bit more welcoming and open to saying, okay, I can sit in the group. Um, and reminding them that it's not you're not required to share. Right. I
Mm,
think that was a big deal for us for that first session, huh, ladies? Is
yes,
reminding people that you didn't have to share. You know what I'm saying? It's not a requirement. I think another big piece for me, I think PJ and I and Sharon have discussed this, not having the requirement to attend every session.
yes, because
Right.
7 can
That
seem overwhelming. Yeah,
Yes. I
it
have
can.
another group I teach, and it's a 10-week session. It's a requirement for every week. And most people are like, hey, I can't commit to that.
Mhm.
Right. But with this 7 weeks and the time frame, but also the ability to say, let me come in and get what I need. And if I need to grab more, I'll join you again. I think that is very welcoming and very makes people very open to the ability to say, okay, I did 3 sessions this go around. Maybe I actually go through the whole 7 next time.
Right.
Right. And so,
Not
yeah,
only that, oh, I'm sorry. Not only
you
that,
find
but having a theme for each session can
it's
help people
huge.
to pinpoint, I'm really struggling with the effects of trauma, right?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go to the effects of trauma session for the next 3 rounds of Triumph Over Trauma, right? To really focus in on learning about how it's impacting them or how it's showing up in their child or in their spouse or on their job, so then they can manage it in a healthy way, right? And so having a la carte is what I think of it in my
Yeah,
head. So you could pick and choose, right? I'm gonna go to session 1, 3, and 5 because I got something else going on 2 and 4, and then maybe I'll circle back for 6, and just relieving that pressure of having to commit to 7 weeks. But then the other thing is having the autonomy or having the freedom to say, actually, this has been pretty good. I'm going to try to come again next week and just commit 1 week at a time.
at a time.
One day at a time, right? We send out a reminder email each week, and then on that Monday when they get it or that Sunday say, "You know what? Actually, this week is good. I can go this week."
Yeah,
Right? And so I think that also plays into the success of the program.
Mhm.
yeah.
And by
I
defining
started
it
posting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss
as
Sharon.
by defining it as a support group, 'cause
Yes.
that's what it is, as opposed to saying this is a workshop, this whatever, whatever other term you might want to use. But that's the way a support group really should work. You come
Mhm.
when you
Yeah.
can, when you feel like it, when you feel it. You don't speak if you don't want to speak. If you want to
Yeah.
speak, then go right ahead.
And this time, I position it as community conversations. So
Yeah.
figuring out what works, right? Last time we put support group. This time I put community conversations. Next time we might think it just depends, right, on what people need until we find that sweet spot of
Yeah.
what gets the most responses or even having a dialogue with the participants. So what drew you in, right?
Yeah.
What was it about what we put out that got you on the hook to get you to show up? Because we had our first group, we had about 50 people to register,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we had somewhere on average about 9 or 10 people each week. Every week, new people registered. That means every week somebody was telling somebody. And
Yeah.
then because it was kind of a la carte, it was ebbs and flows in attendance. But we did have like 3 or 4 rock stars that came every session for the whole 7 weeks. And then we had another 3 or 4 that only missed one session. So they came 6 out of 7. And then there was a combination of attendance variances for the rest of the people. But, being able to share it in a way that it lands and resonates for whoever needs the information is really key.
Yeah.
Mhm. You got some great evaluations and you shared them with me. Were there any particular people who really stood out to you who shared what this meant to them?
I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know that we had any that really stood out, but what I will say is we had quite a few people who during the sessions would be in the chat and saying, this really helped me.
Mhm.
We had a couple we saw really processing on camera, like you could see in their body language that they were really processing the activities, or there were some who had tears, and sometimes that was us.
Mhm.
But I think the ability to relate back, you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying, and people can see us. Not only that are they feeling it, but we're feeling it because we're processing at the same time, right?
Mhm.
But we had quite a few who in the chat would be like, this session was extremely important, and the space that was given for them to share in adherence with time and that type of thing, but giving them the space to express how they were feeling during the session in the middle of doing the body scan and figuring out where your trauma sits or where your stress is. That
Mhm.
was a big one for everybody. Is recognizing like, oh, this is what's been holding, why my back is hurting so bad because I'm holding this right here. Um, but yeah, I think that was a huge piece of what makes this successful is the ability for us to be able, either in person or virtually, but to be able to relate, but then give them space to be, right? Whether that is teary, whether that is, full fledged sobbing, but nobody's judging you, right? This is safe. This is
Yeah.
a safe place. I know for a couple of our sessions, we had a few people trying to turn on their automated recordings for our meetings, and PJ made that very clear. We are not recording this. You are safe here, right?
It's
And that was
okay.
a big deal. That was a big deal for some people because everybody's not prepared to share, and nor do they want anybody to see how I responded. Um,
Well, Shawana, I think you make a good point with the space that was created or that is created through Triumph Over Trauma. A lot of times people don't take the time individually to reflect, to really think about what has happened to them, to even understand that it could have been actually traumatic for them, to understand what trauma is, the full definition, and what it looks like in real life, the
yeah,
application of trying to, make sense of a mess, right? But
yeah,
then taking the time, because we every week we invited them, take a moment to reflect, capture your thoughts, capture what comes up for you, right? Go ahead and write that down because we shared the handouts, the document handout links in the virtual and in the in person. Now they get hard copy, pen and
yeah,
paper. We had young folks, or we had some folks in there that full fledged notes, like
yeah.
very deep descriptive notes of how they were processing what we were asking them to reflect on. So, it beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
The numbers may be small, compared to larger things, but the goal is to reach one.
That's it. Because Neely, I'll tell you, as we started for this in-person group, PJ was like, Shawana, we only got one person
We
registered.
had
And I
one or
was
two.
like, yeah.
And
She was like, we got one person registered. I said, well, PJ, if we help one, that's what the goal is, right?
we
She was
made
like,
a
you're right.
decision.
We meeting anyway with one person in the room and me and you. Let's go.
Yeah.
And now we're up to what, 5?
Mhm.
And we're going into week 3.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's working. It's good. Like, I mean, the word will spread. And I will say, Neely, what I have, PJ and I tend, PJ not as much, but I post on social media. And so I have started to hashtag my posts that says, on Tuesdays, we heal. Meet us for Triumph Over Trauma.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Oh,
I'm starting because
excellent.
that's our date. So I'm starting to tag that. And I already prepped our post for next week, PJ. So we already got that dropping on Sunday. On Tuesdays, we heal. That's what we
We
do on Tuesdays.
When you post it, text me and I'll go in there and then I'll share it because you tag me in it, but until I allow it, people on my timeline don't
Ah,
see it.
okay. Okay.
And
Then yes,
I
I'm
don't I
gonna let
don't
you
I'm
know.
not out
Don't
there
you
like
know.
that.
Okay. Yeah, that started to become my thing. Some of my community members and partners have started to share the post like resource alert.
Mhm,
Y'all jump in the group with Shawana and PJ, and so it's starting to become that thing. And I think I've kind of determined in my brain that whenever we do the next group, whatever day of the week we choose, that'll
mhm.
be the hashtag. On this day, we heal.
Well,
Let's
I
get
know in
together. Let's
October
work
it's going
our
to be
way through.
Thursdays. On
On
Thursdays, we
Thursdays we
heal.
heal. That's it.
Triumph
That's
over
what we do.
trauma.
Triumph over trauma.
I
Yeah.
love
So,
it. Yeah.
so
That's
Miss
good.
Sharon, you, I think we're wanting to jump in.
Probably so, but not anymore.
Sorry, Sharon.
Mm,
Sorry.
they've summed up, really what's going on in the world of triumph over trauma. And I think having well, PJ is very well versed in this whole IT piece, putting it online and all that stuff. And Shawana's not far behind her. She's
Don't
kept
believe the hype, Neely. Miss Sharon proved to us that she had it all in the bag when we ended up having to do our group alone. She did amazing.
She
but all
did.
of thank you. All that helps so much, because that's the world we're living in is that's this world of technology. And so that it just makes it more accessible for people,
Yeah.
to be able to
Hmm.
lean in
It
and lean.
does. Yeah, I think so many people kind of like that it's a bit more, they maintain more of their anonymity if they're online. And I've led groups where people have kept their cameras off
Yeah.
and they've
Hmm.
not talked, but then they'll come to me later and talk about and share how much it helped them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what are your hopes for your community and the future of Triumph Over Trauma, not just for your community, but for the Dallas area?
Well, Neely, since you asked, I just told PJ as we walked from group last week that
Hmm.
we should hold a conference in the community for Triumph Over Trauma. And PJ said, "Oh, of course." But that's on the calendar for next year. We're not adding that to this year just yet.
Nothing else.
That's
Nothing else.
excellent.
But I would love to create a space where we could get a large gathering. It might not be large by some standards, but to get people in, right? And then do a high overview of what Triumph Over Trauma is. Similar to training, but more so on the side of a group to create these safe spaces. Maybe we break out sessions so people can get a little peek at like sessions 1, 2, and 3. Right. And we're not going to go through the whole curriculum in the conference, but I kind of see it where it becomes this space where people just tell their neighbor, like, hey, man, I see you've been going through something. I recommend that you go let these ladies like walk you through some tips. Right. And then we always start our groups. The ladies and I had agreed when we did the first session to start off making sure people understand we are not licensed professionals. This does not substitute therapy. Please make sure you go see your therapist. But we are here to help you, right?
Hmm.
And I think by the end, Sharon and PJ were both like, "Do you need our phone numbers? You can call us if you want to talk."
Well, in building on that idea, Shawana, we could potentially, if we did say a 2 or 3 hour stretch of time, right? It's almost like speed dating where we could have
Mhm.
three groups because it's three of us going at one time. And so then divvy up because we don't have to do the seventh session, which is the celebration. So each of us get to rotate, right? And say, hey, so all six topics could be covered in a matter of 3 hours with time in built in where people can come back together as the bigger group. So start out as the larger group, break out for the 60 minutes, rotate, and then come back and then debrief. 3 hours could absolutely do that for us, where
Yeah.
we could essentially offer like a hybrid option or an expedited option of Triumph Over Trauma. I don't know what we would call it. But oh, FYI, Neely, we called our first group the Triumph Over Trauma Trailblazers.
Good, good. Well, I mean, I love the creativity that all of you bring to this. And that, what you've just shared, is such a great example. I mean,
Mhm,
we try to meet community needs in the ways that we can,
mhm,
always putting the people in the communities front and center and thinking, what do they need? What do they want? Um,
I'm putting my hand up because I have to get ahead of PJ. But so nearly, where we had where we had that training session, it was at Pegasus Park. That was
Yeah.
my first time ever being there. But that was a very the whole environment there, I think, was very good. We had lunch. So in pulling this thing together, that is going to come together, I know. Um, Looking at a venue like that might
Mhm,
not be a bad idea. You know, that was a real plus for me. The fact of where we actually had it,
mhm.
and yeah, that was good.
That's
I'm
great
sure
to
we could
know.
probably. I'm gonna be
And
quiet.
they do, they have so many amazing programs that go on in that building. Yeah. Okay, PJ, go ahead.
Well, one, I was gonna say, Sharon, it may be an opportunity since NIPA was the one that hosted us going through the facilitator course. There may be opportunity for us to partner with NIPA to have a venue, have access to a venue to do something like that. But then the other thing I was going to note is, Neely, you mentioned thinking about what the needs are in the community. Shawana and I made a decision that we would have some light refreshments or some food available for our in-person group, because the timing of the in-person group means that people are coming straight from work. It's during the week. They fought traffic. They may not have even gotten lunch. And now we're talking it's dinner time. And so we wanted to make sure, thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they can't even receive what we're giving them if their stomach is growling, right? If their needs aren't being met, then they can't fully engage and I'm going to say capitalize or maximize the opportunity of the learning, because they're too busy thinking like, dang, I need to get something to eat. So we
Hmm.
scratch that itch for them a little bit and have something available in the room, so that when they get in there, and it's just something that we decided to do personally. We know all groups aren't going to do that, but thinking about the community and who may show up in this course, my guess is they're going to be working class people or people who may be struggling financially and might be suffering from food insecurity in some
Right.
way. And so now we're meeting two needs, right? And so the creating the sense of community to allow them to put down the defensive wall that sometimes is there, so then they can open up and crack into what's really going on the inside. I think
Yeah.
it's a phenomenal feature, and we eat good, and so we come
Oh
together
yeah.
and we fellowship a little bit before the start time, so we don't take away from the curriculum. We just arrive early and make the food available, so if somebody wants to come in and eat, so we're done eating before we start with our session. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And we are
excellent.
eating well. Trust me.
Sounds like it. I wish I lived closer and I would be right there with y'all.
We have full
Well,
meals nearly. Like it started off with pizza, and then the next week it turned into a whole
It started
meal.
off with oxtail stew.
Oh, it did,
And
because PJ had
Oh
made some
Lord.
oxtail stew. That's where we started off. And then it
yes.
turned into pizza, and now it's like fried chicken and potato salad and rolls and
oh
cake,
my
and like we having a
goodness.
whole meal. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of Triumph Over Trauma is the building of community
Yeah.
Mhm.
and helping people know that they're not alone, that the things that they may feel um, bad about sharing to others are
Mhm.
things that other people may feel the same way about.
Yeah.
And when we come into a place where we feel like it's a no judgment zone
Mhm.
and that people are just received compassionately, it can make so much of a difference for the healing journey. I am not wanting to end this conversation, but I do want to just ask if there's any final remarks that y'all would like to give.
Let's start with Miss
Um.
Sharon.
Go. Yeah. We'll start with Sharon.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, Neely, like I said, we appreciate the fact that you are so immersed in this project, and that's what it feels like. It feels like, man, it's bubbling, it's bubbling, and so that excitement catches on with us, and you probably won't be able to get rid of. Excuse me, PJ. You won't be able to get rid of her, but but we want to keep moving that enthusiasm forward, and we have to keep tweaking as we go to decide whether it's going to be virtual, whether it's going to be in person, or whether it's going to be a combination, which we haven't yet tried. But it's job well done, Neely. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
I love that. Yeah, Miss Sharon, I think we definitely start off by thanking Nelia for bringing this out, right? For exposing the community members at large to this, and then being so welcoming to us as we jumped in this thing with both feet, right? Y'all don't ever see the group chat or the text messages that I randomly send PJ about things I find to put on our table, things that say like this is a safe place for you to be who you are. Here are coping skills. We even ordered our own T-shirts, Neely. Like, don't play. We are in this thing, right? As
Right.
we would say in our neighborhood, we in there like swimwear, baby. We are in this. But
Yeah.
I mean, the dedication from not only you, but these two ladies that I get the opportunity to work with and grow with is amazing. Our commitment to providing a safe place is refreshing. As a person who has run groups, and then for them, I'm sure there's people who've been involved in a ministry to have people who come from outside and then determine that we're gonna make this happen. And it matters not if it's just us in the room. We're gonna make it happen, right? And we're gonna learn what would not necessarily walk in the community and tell people what they need, but learn and then adapt as we go. I think that's what makes this so unique. And the way that we are doing it is that we are adapting as need comes. And yes, Ms. Sharon, that hybrid opportunity, that sounds like it might be a good idea. So yeah,
Absolutely.
we're gonna work on that. And Neely, I don't know if PJ told you, but I think I may have designed a journal for you to eventually brand as Triumph Over Trauma. Yeah, listen. We are working on things over here. This
Oh,
brand, this
goodness.
learning, this is essential to our community, and I think that you have only tapped the surface. God has so much more in store for what Triumph Over Trauma looks like. And maybe beyond what Neely thought as a class or as a session, this is it's going to turn into a movement, and it's going to be something that is so well received that you're going to be looking around talking about where did these ladies come from, because they didn't push me all outside my box. So,
I love it though. I love to
I
be
love
pushed,
it.
and I love
yeah,
your enthusiasm and commitment to helping others.
absolutely.
Well, what I'll say is, one, if anybody watches this podcast that is interested in doing a group but not quite confident enough to jump out there, partner with someone else so you can hold
Yes,
each other up. I think co-facilitation is critical to success because you can't watch everything by yourself and you can't handle everything by yourself when you're first starting out. Now, Neely is a different ball game because it's pumping in her veins, so she
right.
can do it by herself, right? But it's so much better when you do it with someone else. The three of us got together and went out to lunch when it was over just to celebrate, and to fellowship and to talk about what transpired over the course of those 7 weeks and what we would like to see coming down the line. And so we already have several sessions projected for this year. And so I would encourage anyone who's scared to do it anyway. Do it
Yeah,
afraid
and what
and
afraid.
lean into it and trust the process.
Yeah,
Almost everything you need to know is in that book. We did add a few things, like we added the hand model for the brain so that people, like, I labeled the different pieces to for some people are visual learners. Miss Sharon did some beautiful exercises for that, the mindfulness skills and meditation and all of that. Shawana brought some energy that we just could not, you know, pick up at the store. And so find people who you can genuinely and authentically vibe with, because the energy comes out. It comes out your voice, it comes out in your delivery, it comes out in how you care for each other and how you care for those that are in the group. And so what I would say is, um, make it your own so you can then get through, because people can tell when you just reading words. They can tell if you're just reading a script and you don't mean it. So mean it. It's okay to read it, but mean it. So if
Yeah.
you don't mean it the way it's written, then rewrite it.
That's it. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
for that, I'll close out and just say this has been a phenomenal opportunity. I'm forever grateful to NIPA for what they do in the community, for how they afforded us this opportunity to attend this training for free. And then they
Yes.
fed us really good. They fed us twice. I didn't know I was going to get fed twice. They fed our physical bodies. Oh, they fed us more than that. They fed our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies as well. And so
Yeah.
they fed us really good. Nippa, hats off. Neely, thank you for accepting the challenge to do the work and for carrying us along the path as we
Yeah.
were learning that first group. Those mentoring connection sessions were instrumental in reinforcing the information and reminding us to do self care and reminding us that we don't have to have all of the answers, but to be present. So thank you. Thank you, Neely. Thank you, Nippa. And thank you to all of the future Triumph Over Trauma facilitators because we need you.
Yes. We need you.
Yes, we
Thanks to
do.
my girls, Shawana and Sharon. Yay.
Thank y'all. This has been such an energetic conversation and passionate and compassionate conversation. And I look forward to all the things that you're going to do next, and I will be there to support you in whatever way I can. To all of you, thank you so much for listening, for watching. And if you're interested in learning more about Triumph Over Trauma, you can go to triumphovertrauma.info and you'll see what it's all about. Thank you again. God bless you. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the Women Arise podcast. Learn more about our health and trauma recovery programs at HarperHill.Global. This podcast and our programs depend upon donor support, so give as you are able. God bless you.